Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the session on automated translation. And I don't want to make too much words from my own, so I rather pass it on to Davor Orlic from the Emoocs project. I hope I pronounce your name correctly.
Emoocs, yeah. So hi, everyone. In this session, we'll try to understand what would be the add-ons to MOOCs in general, right? So what would be the added value of services on top of content for users and also for MOOC providers. So this is a European project. It's based in 9 European countries, so it's quite spread out. The idea is how to sort of like tackle open data, open education, MOOCs, and sort of like create something on top of all of that. So if I move forward. So MOOC, basically what it does, it automatically translates all textual content in your MOOC. Right, so everything from A to Z. This means assignments, tests, presentations, subtitles, block text, fora, right? So that is probably the most interesting part. How do you sort of like give every user its sort of like 100% experience? So what the problem is? One of the problems is access to global content in native language is almost impossible. So if you're from, whatever, let's say Brazil, you probably won't have access to whatever the language is, let's say Portuguese, in terms of big or even small MOOC providers, right? So the MOOC distance online learning and LMS platforms leaves you disconnected from the possibility of studying in your language, as the majority is, again, in English, right? So even platforms, not just the content, even the platforms wouldn't allow you. So that is the second barrier. The third one is that there's no easy way for these companies to actually get translations done, right? So you don't have a plug-in and play sort of solution. The BRIC market, again, 15% of MOOC students today, around 25% of the world's population, which is a huge market, have only 4.6% of English-speaking people, right, or students. And this is more, not really a problem, but more of a, towards the next slide, the European population percentage, excluding Russia, being native speakers of our target languages, we have 11 languages that we are addressing, is around 43% of the total European population. So we cover a lot, and I'll show you more. So the solution that we propose for these problems, right, accessibility and so on, is a web platform where users and companies can get their translations done out of the box. I wouldn't say magically, but at least out of the box. So the idea is to save money for translation, make money by getting more users, which is what you would probably want. And the third thing is, of course, the social aspect, where you sort of respect culture. And if you remember I think it was yesterday talks from the keynote from the University of Edinburgh, where he was saying that Stuart, you remember that? When the provost was saying that the Spanish students doing MOOCs in Spanish language were more sort of like successful, probably because of the cultural and linguistic aspect, right? So the market validation, right? Usually what you want to do if you have a startup or a company addressing something is you want to prove that also other players are doing the same. I mean, that there's a market for it, that it's just not out of the blue. So the WIPO, which is the World Intellectual Property Organization, has developed cutting-edge translation tool for patent documents. Google announces this technique, which is neural machine translation. Baidu has the same technology, and Microsoft is using the same technology. So what I'm trying to say here is that we have a very specific algorithm, which in our terms does magic, right? So these players have just recently adopted the same techniques. So what we do here in the educational domain is pretty much super state of the art. So we're not saying that we're doing magic, but we're saying that we're getting quite close to it. The market size is quite big. MOOCs, distant online learning and online education in general. This is one market that we are addressing. As you've seen in the last 2 days, MOOCs are, the MOOCs sort of market is getting bigger and bigger by year. Learning management systems, if you think about the corporate side, huge market. Again, machine translation is expected to boost up a lot, right? So machine translation. What is the value? What are we trying to achieve here with this kind of, let's say, software as an add-on? User acquisition, right? So expansion of users and more effective user onboarding. We assume that if people will have access to content in their own language, they'll be more keen on actually doing the courses. Expansion into geographical and language markets. Scalability of content, right? So you basically multiply your course. If you have it in English, you can have it in 11 more languages, so you sort of like scale up in a very interesting way. And again, access to new students given restrictive policies in mobility, Brexit again, which was mentioned by the future CEO. So what we do is actually we create value on top of English at this point, not back, just from English into 11 languages. And this is again the sort of like the value of in terms of the MOOC market. So it sort of like provides growth. These kind of services provide growth. Again, it strengthens innovation capacity, and it provides basically, again, what the CEOs were saying, a baseline for new stuff. Once you try and create these things, then I'll show you the extra services that we have in mind. So it really becomes a portfolio of magic in a way. So we don't have a product made yet. The platform is not made, but we do have a demo that I can show you. These will be the languages, again, available in the translation engine, and I'll show you the English-German. If it's quite slow, but let's see what happens. Again, we have quite a few competitors. Again, Google, Microsoft, and Baidu, but these are general language, not educational domain language specific machine translation services. The competitive advantage, again, is there is no such platform existing where you can actually translate English into 11 languages for education. High quality translations because we are using neural machine translation models. So not statistical machine translation, but a different type of translation. Complete translation service pipeline for all textual data, effortless implementation. This is something we have in mind. Robust API for the techie ones in the room. And of course, the languages. And the technology is not limited to just MOOCs. As I told you before, it's for distant online learning, LMSs, and so on. Why are we the best to do it? Because we have the best machine translation researchers working on this, and they're very, very hungry, right? So they'd like to succeed and actually show their results beyond research. We are one of the best players in open education, the Knowledge for All Foundation, and again, I won't go into details, but this is the 6 European universities doing the project, 2 industrial partners, and 1 NGO. In the press, if you've seen the first talk from the Commission, the director was showing our project as one of the flagships. And these are actually once you have a translation service, then you can have these additional services on top. So just think about gaming applications, right? Translation of textbooks within MOOCs, translation of any sort of additional recommended materials and so on, right? Even translation of open educational resources, which are licensed with an open license and so on and so forth. So cross-lingual search would be quite interesting, right? And so on and so forth. So let me show you this, and you can type it in your machines and see what happens. Do I have the time for this? Yep. So. Okay. So let's see. So I just have the English to German demo. So Thomas here is German, and you can be the judge of the quality or non-quality.
Let's see.
Okay, so if you go, let's say we go, okay, we say, I don't know, we say algebra, just to show you that we're not fake. So let's try and take this. We copy paste it. We throw it in. Yeah, and we just ask the machine to translate it. Hopefully.
Can you get that a little bit bigger?
Yeah.
Can you read that?
So let's wait until the machine gets back there. Hopefully, I mean, these things usually don't work when we show them, right? So at least I'm entertaining you, right? If it takes more than 5 seconds, then maybe you can start your talk and I can just pitch in at the end and show. Yeah.
Yeah, live demos are always complicated.
So maybe we can like use the time for some questions if you have any already in the audience.
So first is how much time it will take?
So this is what I'm showing you is just so this is just for one language. We have 11 language pairs, and this is a server at the University of Edinburgh. So once the product is done, we are discussing milliseconds, right?
I'd like to see the content not from wiki, because that's general purpose, but on the right side you have formulas and a quadratic formula expresses. That seems to me more
Yeah, I can try that.
more interesting than general text.
So this is the translation. I hope it makes sense. I don't speak German.
If you have Portuguese,
I don't have it on the demo.
Lots of MOOCs can export all their work in a XML file, like edX format or an other MOOC provider. Do you translate directly on the XML export format, giving up a new course? Or is it one of your strategies?
I think we will. We are just in the making of the platform. We're just starting to create the technical roadmap for creating the platform. And I think this is one of the, because we were discussing this is one of the elements there.
Are you thinking about the strategy where after the machine translation, there is a human review process going on? Because that's frequently what the professor asks us.
This is a very good question. We actually thought about this while doing the project. So we have a few cycles of what we do is we translate the content, and then within the project we crowdsource and we ask people, professionals, to change and edit the mistakes. Then we take that and we run it again through the translation machine. So we plan on creating 3 prototypes, so hopefully the last one will be way, way better, and we'll probably need just a bit of human intervention, hopefully, yeah.
Are you thinking of translating the subtitle of
Yes.
video too? That's because that's one
Yes.
good part of the job.
Yeah, we do. We don't translate videos, so this is what Gonçal will show. But we do translate texts from videos, which would be subtitles or transcriptions. So the answer is yes.
I think I have good news for you.
Uh-huh.
We have this open access repository
Mhm.
of papers
Mhm.
from Portuguese academia.
Mhm.
And we have this big database, and we have the abstracts in Portuguese and abstracts in English.
Nice.
And maybe that could be interesting for your network to learn Portuguese English translation.
Yeah, I think So the idea here is that these 11 languages have very little support in terms of machine translation. That's why they were chosen, because they were, besides being an interesting business case, they're also tough to crack in terms of the language barrier, right? So Portuguese was one of those, and the answer is yes, of course, we can connect.
So if you want, I can get the data.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
I was wondering how many professional translators do you have working in this project?
One of the partners is actually a translation agency, so they're on top of that. So Deluxe Media Europe. So these are the guys that have the professional translators. I don't know how many, but I can ask. We have engaged in the project professionals. We have engaged students of translation. We have engaged anonymous people that are sort of like, language capable. So we have had, within the human evaluations of the machine translation output, we had different sets of people going through those just to make sure that we have 100% covered all of the evaluations.
So I have a kind of a broader question. So Dana Doyle from MIT. And so we have translated some courses, and actually getting the translations done is usually not the hardest part, because we have volunteers who are willing to translate the courses that, I guess they have a lot of spare time or something to translate these really complex courses. What's really time consuming is actually getting it into the platform. So we use the edX platform, and you actually have to make another instance of the course in another language, so that if you make a change to the course, you have to go to each instance of the course and make changes. So I'm wondering if you guys are thinking of any way of working with the individual platforms so that it's easy to actually update the courses, or is it, is it a window you look through, so I just update it and it translates it, just like the functional part of having the translation, because that really seems to be like the stumbling block that we hit. It's not, like I said, not getting the translations, it's like actually like implementing the translations. That's the problem.
Yeah, this is what we call UX, user experience. What we have in mind is creating a, so we have two business models. One is open source and the other one is commercial one. So the open source would be something of an add-on within the edX platform. So hopefully we would do what you're saying. It's in the plan.
Okay, so I'm afraid we have to move on with the next presentation, and maybe we can have like more discussion on both presentations afterwards. Maybe new questions come up, so let's go on with the Gonçal.
There you go. Iron Man.
Vale. Gracias. Gracias. Thank you. And this, thanks. Okay, so hello, my name's Gonçal Garcés. I come from the Machine Learning and Language Processing Research Group at Universitat Politècnica de València. And well, I'm a trained translator myself, and I've worked as a professional translator. So we have one in our group, apart from other companies that we might work with in our projects. So let's talk a little bit about automatic subtitling and translation for MOOCs. I will just have a brief introduction of our group, and then we'll see a little bit the motivation for subtitling and translating the MOOCs automatically. Then we'll see how we're doing this, and we'll see at the end the service that our university has started to offer this service to other organizations. So this is who we are. We're a research group at Universitat Politècnica de València, and one of our main lines of work is language technologies for education. And these are some of our most recent projects. The first two ones are European projects that are completed already. In Translators, we developed most of the state-of-the-art technology that we are using nowadays. And in EMMA, we actually applied that in collaboration with 8 universities from around Europe, from 7 different countries, working with 8 different languages. And then currently we are continuing this line of work in Project More, funded by the Spanish government, and we are fortunate enough to have been to have had a new project accepted in the H2020 program of the European Union that will start this year, X5Con, where we'll work on developing a global open educational resources network. So these are the languages we work with. I've seen there's only a little bit of overlap with Emoocs. So we subtitle automatically from English, Spanish, Catalan, French, German, Italian, Dutch, Portuguese, Slovene, and Estonian. And then we have machine translation between these languages and English. And then we also work with text-to-speech synthesis, currently from English, Spanish, and Catalan, and we'll later see an example of how we use this. So as motivation, let's see what we measured and found out in Project Emma. Here the main goal was to provide multilingual access to European MOOCs. So maybe the University of Naples had a MOOC in Italian and they wanted to offer it in English also. Or the University of Leicester had a MOOC in English and wanted to offer it in Spanish and in Catalan. So we were introducing language technologies into this. And what was the motivation? The language barrier, of course, is keeping many learners from taking MOOCs. English is not enough to reach everyone. And we're using Translators tools to try to make this cost efficient. So as an example, if you want to translate manually a MOOC, well, you probably will have some videos. Let's say you have 2 hours of video. And then first you need to manually transcribe those videos. So if the videos are 2 hours long in total, you'll need usually around 20 hours to subtitle them in the original language. And then you'll need to translate that, and an estimation of how much that would cost, that would be 30 times the length of the video. So for 2 hours of video, you might need 60 hours of translation work. Now, then the MOOC will probably have some text also. Then if, let's say, you're running a 6-week course and there's 75,000 words in the course, taking a manual translation rate of 2,500 words per day, which could be low, it could be higher depending on many factors, but every organization has different setups for translation. But we could estimate 1.5 persons month. So in total, 2 persons month to translate this course. Our approach to this, to lower costs, would be to use language technologies to generate automatically these subtitles, first in the original language and then the automatic translation, and then post-edit them to save time. And in our measurements, we could reduce this 2 person months to 0.6 person months in this example course, which is one from the Emma project. In our measurements, we've seen this. Now let's see the usual workflow we recommend. First, you would generate, this is for videos, so you would first generate the automatic subtitles for the video, then you would revise the automatic subtitles, and then you would do the machine translation from that. and review the automatic translations. It's of course better to do it this way, because otherwise the errors from the automatic transcription would pile up with the automatic translation, and the automatic translations don't come up very pretty if if you haven't reviewed first the transcriptions. Usually, it may change from case to case. And this is an image of our subtitle editor. Here you can see how you can. We'll see it later, but here you can see that you can edit the subtitles segment by segment, and synchronized with the video. And here you can see how to do it for a translation on a side-by-side interface. Then if we were talking about course text, then you would ingest the text of your course into the translation system, for instance, from HTML files. And then you can use a web interface to revise it segment by segment, to revise the automatic translation, and you can also show how the final document would look in the process. Now, these are some measurements we made during the EMMA project. We've got at the top for video transcription. These are the languages we worked with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I guess only. Yeah, okay. So these are the languages we measured, and the first column is the word error rate for automatic subtitling on a sample course for each language, right? And then the second column is we take the same course, we upload it to YouTube, and see how the automatic subtitling from YouTube comes out. And in all cases, the automatic subtitling from YouTube had a higher error than in our system. It's the same for translation, and our explanation for this is that our systems are adapted to each course. In the case of YouTube, they have a general system, and you input there a video, and of course YouTube doesn't know what that video is about, so it just tries to subtitle it. But in our case, we know the topic of the video, we know who the lecturer is, and all of that information can be used to improve the automatic subtitling. And then here we measured how much time it took to revise the course from our automatic subtitles, and these are the time saving figures with respect to having done it manually, with a reference of 10 times the length of the video. And then for video translation, it's a similar chart with several combinations. So these are our figures. This is different from above in that this is a quality measure, not an error measure. So here, the higher the better. And again, here we compared ourselves with Google Translate. And in all cases, Google Translate had a lower quality translation than in our systems. And again, this is a measure of, after revising the automatic translations, how much time was saved with respect to doing it manually from scratch. Okay, so these measurements are from maybe a little bit more than a year ago. So in this time, YouTube and Google have surely been upgrading their systems, but we have to. And these are some of our most recent improvements. There's two sides to this, or several, but the most important ones are maybe first applying new state-of-the-art techniques for speech recognition. So deep neural networks, VLSTM recurrent neural networks, crossword triphone modeling. This is quite technical, but it's actually the state-of-the-art these days. And on the other part we're working on is on gathering more and more speech data with which to train our systems so that they work better and better. And in this table we can see at the left, well, at the very left we can see that German has been added here. It was not in the EMMA project, but we've got it now. And here we see how we are gathering more and more data. it's to the left, there's the data we had in 2016, and now the hours of speech data we have now for each language, more and more for each language. And this is the word error rate, how it was in 2016, and how it's been reduced in well, this month, because many of these new systems are coming live now. And we're also reducing the time it takes to process the videos. So here for, let's say in Spanish, it would take us 1 hour and a half to subtitle a 1 hour video. Now it takes less than 1 hour to subtitle a 1 hour video. Okay. And now let's move to Polytrans. So if you're interested in this, you can just go to this website, polytrans.upv.ts, and this is a new service that has been started by our university, and we're offering our services commercially. So here you can just register, you'll get a trial account, and you can upload your own videos and try it, see how it works for you, and if you're interested, then you can pay by the hour. So let's say you want to translate that MOOC course that was 2 hours of video long, then you can pay for 2 hours and do it with a credit card. And this is how the web interface looks. Here you can update your own, upload your videos. It's very useful to try it and to manage the videos, but then you might be wondering, well, I've got my MOOC platform. I don't want to have to manually take my videos, upload them here, download the subtitles, bring them back to my MOOC platform. That's why we have an API interface that you can use to automate these tasks. So in the case of Emma, for instance, this API was used. You can use it with your trial account also, you can try it. In the case of Emma, this is the Emma platform, and the button was added here that using our API, when the, let's say the lecturer or the content manager clicks it, the video is automatically sent to our platform, the subtitles are generated and brought back. So the content manager doesn't have to go to a different platform to use it. And there are several ways in which our API can be used to automate this kind of task. Now, just some of our experiences so far in automatic subtitling and translation. First of all, there's what we do in our own university. We're quite proud of our video lecture repository. We've got lots of lectures on different topics, and we are subtitling automatically all of them into Spanish, Catalan, and English. And then we've got our own MOOCs on edX also, which we also subtitle automatically. And then Emma, we already talked about. There were 8 universities from 7 countries and 8 different languages. That's also an experience we have. And then these are some of the recent contracts we have. We have a contract with this university, UC3M, Carlos III. And it's been a very fruitful cooperation. And well, I don't want to talk for them, but I talked with the people responsible for this yesterday, and they always tell us that they are very happy with how the automatic subtitling and post-editing approach works for them. Then we also have a contract with videolectures.net, which is a very large video lecture repository of European scope, mostly focused around computer science lectures and conferences. And then we've also had a contract with the Translation Center for the Bodies of the European Union, which is based on Luxembourg. And well, they work with the 23 official languages of the EU, but we don't cover all of them, so we focused on the biggest ones. But we did several different. We tried different kinds of applications of language technologies with them. They are really interested in trying new things. So let me show you some live demos if we've got some time for that. Thank you, Davor. Let's see. So first of all, this is our university's media portal, and I've gone and searched for a conference that was given by Lee Rubenstein, a vice president of edX who was visiting at our university. And here we can see how we... I'm going to show you the automatic subtitles that you can watch on every lecture in our repository. So I'll just start it.
We are sincerely grateful to have been invited to speak today at this conference at Valencia. We have several Spanish schools that
These
are
are the
part
automatic
of the
subtitles in
edX
English.
consortium, and we're very, very proud of the work that they're doing. Can you hear me okay? Too loud? Too soft? Just right? Good. Okay. Is everybody ready to begin to practice their listening in English skills this morning? Yes? Okay. Right. Well, I will do my best to talk slowly, and if it goes too fast, hold your hands up like this. How many people here have participated or...
So as you can see, there are some errors. But for many videos, we have very, very good results. And then you can also change the language. This is where automatic translation, machine translation comes in. And again, as I told you, it's preferable to first revise the automatic transcription, so more errors might come up here.
A MOOC course so far? Raise of hands. How many of you have taken an edX MOOC course? Small amount, but good. That's excellent that you're having this experience. I don't think that any of us...
Okay. So let's say what we've done is, let's say you've noticed an error in the original English, and you probably have. Then you can... I'll go back to the original Zoom. And you can ask to revise the errors. Here you can log in with your university login or anonymously. Of course, these things are handled differently. And in any case, any revision has to be checked by university staff. So here we've jumped to the subtitle editor.
Thank you.
And we can just go to wherever there was an error.
I don't think.
Of course, it's synchronized with the video. You can just edit here, and then you can save. And again, in this case, it will be checked by university staff. And you can also show two languages side by side. So if you want to revise a translation, you've got Spanish here and English here. And of course, it keeps being.
You had the money, or
so this is what we have in our university's media repository. Now, if we go to Polytrans, this is where you can log in and maybe register and get a free account. And this is how it looks in the inside. This is where you can upload media. It's working, right? This is where you can upload media. And let me show you just maybe a demo in French. I think I've got it here, yeah.
Bonjour et bienvenue.
This is a course from the University of Bourgogne.
Sur le MOOC Culture et écriture numérique. Je vous propose de découvrir cette nouvelle culture à l'ère du tout digital pendant 6 semaines avec des enseignants-chercheurs, des professeurs de l'Université de Bourgogne et d'autres établissements, tous experts dans leur domaine qui viendront vous expliquer de façon pragmatique et abordable la culture et l'écriture numérique. Vous avez ou aurez un projet à développer? Le numérique peut vous apporter des réponses pour concrétiser et échanger sur ce projet.
Okay, so this was an example in French, automatic subtitle, of course, and this is our advanced editor, where you can change the length of the segments, and just jump wherever you want. And
Faire leur premier pas dans cet univers.
Okay, and just as a last demo, I'd like to show you what we do with text-to-speech. So let's say you have a course which is in Catalan originally, such as this one. So I'm going to show you the original video with the automatic subtitles. No, these are revised subtitles. Okay, we generated the automatic subtitles and we revised them because if we want a good text-to-speech at the end, we've got to revise at every step.
El següent objecte d'aprenentatge té per títol Raonament probabilístic, representació i inferència. Es tracta d'un aspecte molt important en el desenvolupament de sistemes intel·ligents i, en particular, en aprenentatge automàtic.
Okay, so this is the original video. So let's say you automatically subtitle it, you revise the subtitles in Catalan, then you translate the subtitles automatically into English, you revise the subtitles in English, and this takes less time than doing all of that from scratch. And then you use text-to-speech to have your English subtitles read aloud.
The following learning object is entitled Probabilistic Reasoning, Representation and Inference. It is about a very important topic in the development of intelligent systems and, in particular, in machine learning.
Okay, so this is one of the applications that we propose for text-to-speech, so that you can have an automatic dub from your original lesson into another language. And well, this is an in development text-to-speech system, but actually nowadays it sounds better than in this demo. So I think those were the demos that I wanted to show. And let's see if I can go back to the slides. So just as conclusions, multilingual access boosts course visibility. In Emma, we measured that having courses in different languages brought an extra 66% of enrolled students in average. The cost of manually translating a course is high. Then we propose automatic transcription and translation with post-editing as a way to reduce effort up to 50% in average. And then I'll just move to future work. Well, these are just some tips, because it's good to think if you want your MOOC to go multilingual, you have to think it from the moment you start designing the MOOC. So let's say you've got images in your MOOC, you're showing software in your MOOC, you've got bibliography in your MOOC. What are you going to do to make that available in another language to the users, to the students? And then as future work, we want to keep improving automatic transcription accuracy, specifically for live classroom recordings, which are usually more noisy and more difficult, more challenging than studio recordings. Then improving machine translation with neural machine translation techniques, and keep working on text-to-speech for voice-to-voice translation, and several other related technologies. So thank you for your attention.
Okay, so I think we have time for only very few questions, unfortunately. But are there any questions to the yeah?
How do you think the advent of high competitive the automated part is very important. And don't you think that's the main added value of your research, of your system?
Okay,
I mean, our added value, let's say if these would be two companies, right, would be the credibility. Like Google will always, be somewhere in the landscape because they're strong in what they do. We can surpass them here and there, but they're not accountable for whatever they translate, right? So if something goes wrong, you can call Mountain View and ask and say, you know, you cannot do that. So the added value of this would be that we would strive to be fully automated and have as little as possible of the post processing or even human evaluation, right, or checkup. I mean, that's my idea.
Yeah, I agree completely. I would say the same thing. We are available for any kind of collaboration. We're very active, and we can collaborate with organizations big and small, which probably Google or Microsoft are not going to go and do something specific for you. And then again, I also mentioned that we have our technology is adapted to your courses. So let's say you upload a course and you upload a video, you upload the videos and you upload the slides with it, then our system will read the text from the slides and use this vocabulary to improve the automatic subtitles, that kind of adaptation. And you can also, we know who the lecturer is for each lecture, so you can have an adapted, a system that is adapted to the voice and way of speaking of a lecturer. Let's say he records a lot of videos. Well, you know that all his videos are going to have very good subtitles. So that kind of thing, we are offering it now, and I don't think you're gonna find it anywhere else. So, and of course we are researchers, so that's the kind of thing that we are trying to move forward.
Where are you integrated with the OpenCast infrastructure and the Pyla video? I was saying, and so you have multiple transcript, multilingual transcript inside the Pyla viewer.
Yeah, that's right. Of course, the Paella player is developed by our university's media services originally. So we are always working in collaboration with them. In all of our projects I've shown, they are part of the project. So they bring a very good use case that we can always try our technology with. And of course, in the case of our media repository, we have integrated everything there. And well, you've seen it that we've got everything integrated with the Paella player, so it's live now in our university. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any interest, or have you received any inquiries to use this type of translation for Asian languages like Japanese or Chinese?
Okay, that's a good question. So far, we have not worked on that. There hasn't come up a project like that, but I think Davor can say something about that.
Yeah, we have 9 European and 2 BRIC languages, which would be Brazilian or Portuguese and Chinese. And probably the added value of all these things is accessibility of content, and making your user base actually and your return on investment bigger for yourself, and of course the accountability and so on and so forth. So all these markets like the Chinese market and developing countries market, they're all hungry for content, all of them. And what's interesting, what we see is that this machine translation thing, it's quite data-based, right? We don't see language as in words, and it's all data for us. We don't see videos as in moving something with voice. We see that as thousands of pictures, one after the other, and it's all data for us. So what we see, the trend is coming out that developing countries and the BRIC markets are actually also producing data. So they want the exact opposite, basically, of what we are trying to achieve. They want, from Chinese to English. It's interesting for them to have English to Chinese, but they want to have Chinese to English. So they want the vice versa language pairs also, which is, I think, an interesting phenomena, and also for developing countries as in Africa and so on. They are actually producing also local but very strong content, which is fixing their own problem in terms of courses and delivery of content. So that is something interesting that we've noticed.
I would also mention that we haven't worked so far with Asian languages, but we can do it as in if there's an interest about that, we can work on that. As an example, when we came to the Emma project, we didn't have an Estonian system, and we don't have anyone who speaks Estonian in our group. But of course, one of the Emma partners was Estonian University, and they were the ones we collaborated with to make sure that the development was making the system better and better. So.
So if there are no further questions, I would end the session. We're a little bit over the time anyway already, and I wish all of you, oh no, it's not lunch already, so
Coffee break.
Coffee break.
Thank you.